Talking about the quality of life in Denmark, it was recently rated like, I think, the second happiest country in the world as per the World Happiness Report, I think. Do you think that that is accurate? Would you agree with that assessment?
I'm so with those things.
I understand why. A lot of people make fun of it, that it's like, the weather is not that good, and a lot of people are depressed because of that. But I think one of the reasons why it is one of the happiest countries in the world is because you really have the basics here. So like, you don't have
Exactly.
like, for example, poverty, right? It's not that, of course, there are poor people. You cannot just like not have them, right? But it's not a huge problem. So the majority of people, they have all the basics that you need in life. They don't starve. They have a roof above their heads. So it's like you don't have too many rich, too many poor. So that's why people are happy, because they have their basic needs covered. They have. And if we come back to the things like the kindergartens work, the schools work, the universities work, like the healthcare is available to everyone. You don't have to pay for everything. It's your social benefit, right? So there's like those small things. I think they benefit. They contribute a lot to that, especially if you compare even to other countries in Europe.
I think it's an objective measurement, right? It's a pure data exercise. And the thing is, happiness is not the data, right? And I see happiness in my own place in France, back in France, and I know that, yeah, you can go to the south of France, you can go to Brittany. I'm thinking of those beautiful places now, and I think that people are pretty happy there, and it's not even it's not a question of money. It's they are genuinely happy to be where they are. But if you start measuring objective criteria such as, are there enough school? Is it difficult to get a kindergarten spot? Is it difficult to continue further on with your studies after finishing school? Is the minimum salary really low? Is it actually not enough to live on? These are objective measurement, objective data, and well, based on that, clearly Denmark is a happier country. Now, does it mean that people are happier? I don't think so. I think it's I tend to look at those articles a bit. Yeah, I think it's more complicated than that.
Maybe
for sure.
Maybe they should be happy, but they're not. Is it one of those situations? Do people take it for granted?
Not even. I think. First of all, if you don't move abroad, you tend to not really realize what it is that you have compared to the rest of the world. That to start with, and there are many Danes who don't move; they stay in Denmark, and that's of course okay. And I don't think those are really realize what they have, because to do so, you really need to move abroad and see how it is to live abroad. You know what I mean? As I was saying, I was totally idealizing Denmark until the day I actually moved and discovered, okay, now I have my reality check. Now I have my educated opinion about it. You know what I mean? So was I less happy before? No, I think it's not that. No. But I can objectively say that there are things that are absolutely fundamental that simply work better here. Does it mean that I prefer Denmark, or that I think that Denmark is objectively better? No. I think putting a number on those things is incredibly complicated. I understand why it exists. I think I understand what it measures. They look at things such as, how many kindergarten there are in a city per 1,000 inhabitants. How many, I don't know, is the local transportation system efficient? This kind of thing. I don't think you can really, because French can be very grumpy. If you start asking them if they're happy, you're going to have a hard time. But I think they are.
And yeah, of course, like we were talking about earlier, trying to say that one country is better than another one gets complicated very quickly. In terms of your preference, though, I mean, it does seem like you do prefer Denmark because that's where you live. You could equally live in France if you wanted.
Yeah, absolutely.
For me, definitely, because I lived in after I moved out in 2009. So since 2009, I live abroad in Europe, and I lived in Germany, Finland, the Netherlands, and now Denmark. So I can compare at least these. And I loved all of these countries. It was nice everywhere, but I definitely love being in Denmark, and it's definitely my personally preferred country because I just feel, I don't know, it fits my personality. I like the values they have. There's certain values that I see that, like, I don't know, family values and things like this. It's just aligned with me, with my character, with my preference. So for me, definitely here. I don't know if you agree.
No, for me, it's a little bit different. I love the fact that I live here. I love the fact that I made that move and that I made it possible for myself, and I love being here. But since I'm here, I also love France better, in the sense that since I only go there as a tourist now, I actually really enjoy it when I go. And I'm really, really, really happy every time I come back to my home in Denmark. So I think I've found my balance. That's how I would phrase it.
Yeah.
But I cannot say that I prefer Denmark. No, it's not how I would phrase it. It's more, now I love both very, very much.
And you can have both. I mean, with a relatively short distance, you can have both.
Absolutely. Yeah.
It's funny what you were saying, Anastasia, about the other countries that you've lived in, because Finland, on that same report of happiness, was number one. And
Yes.
Netherlands, I think, was like 4 or 5. So you've lived in like almost all of the happiest countries.
But I understand why. I honestly here, I think this is where we don't agree.
Yeah.
I really understand why they're the happiest countries, because I think it's also a lot is about your benchmark, where is that you come from, or where you lived, or where to compare it to. And of course, if I compare it to where I'm coming from, even though it's home will always be home, right? Wherever you come from. I understand how it feels that your life is so much easier. It's so, I don't know, it's like everything is made for you to be comfortable, to be happy, to be, I don't know. And of course, I understand if you come from France. France is such a beautiful country. It has amazing nature, and you can travel wherever you go. It's just incredibly beautiful. Your cuisine is exquisite, right? I mean, there are certain things that you must be missing when you travel, right?
You know what I think about this ranking thing, happiest countries and all? I think there are probably a lot of people in France, for instance, looking at this ranking and thinking, oh, wow, idealizing a bit, like I did myself at some point. But I think many, if not most, would simply not be ready to live here. Like if I tell you, if you live in France, you enjoy your life in France, and all of a sudden I tell you, okay, look, this is your lucky day. You're going to move to Denmark, the happiest country. Oh, amazing. But you will not be able to afford going out as often as you did. You will get used to not go to a bar too often, but rather drink your beer from a can sitting in a park. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. It's just like different way of living, different habits. You know what I mean? Everything will be more expensive. A coffee will be very expensive compared to what you're used to. You're going to pay 50% of tax. You're going to have enough left to live, but it's not going to be crazy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I think there is so much that you adapt to that simply saying, yeah, happiest country in the world. Yeah, you know, I mean, it's really more complicated than that,
for
right?
people who live here. It's not for people who need to move in there. Like, you know, I think the older you get, the more difficult it is actually to move, just because you're used to so many things and just changing them, whether they're better or worse, it doesn't matter. It's just difficult, right? Because you're, as you said, right, you're like a little bit, you know how things are, and that's how they're supposed to be. And then just changing them, even for better, I guess. So I think it's a little bit...
I agree with that. Yeah.
Well, like there's also, I mean, there's a basic hierarchy of needs, right? And like you need to have shelter, you need to have food, you need to have water, you need to have, you know, education. And if you have those things, before you have those things, you can't really think about anything else. Those would be like kind of more immediate needs, I guess, especially shelter, food, and water. And in most developed countries, we have those things. And so then we can argue the semantics of what happiness is after that. But many countries don't reach that threshold. And so then it would be harder for them to obviously, to even talk about, oh, hey, isn't it nice that I have a job that makes me feel fulfilled? I mean, that's way up on the list of hierarchies, right? It's not foundational.
Absolutely.
So if you compare like a middle class French person and a middle class Danish person and a middle class Canadian person, yeah, I mean, it's just preference. But if you're talking about like what country creates the least amount of poverty or allows people to have those basic needs met, I guess that's a different conversation too. And that in itself allows you to even talk about happiness to begin with.